Hi, this is Casper Van Dien, and you're listening to FSF Popcast. You know what to do! Kill them all! With kindness and love.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the FSF Podcast. I'm Tim. I'm your host. Of course, we have Ben, our ever-trusty co-host here, and a special guest host, the very first guest in the history of the FSF Podcast, Captain Rex, a.k.a. Sean Vest, the one, the only, the cosplay clone trooper, Captain Rex. So our actual guest today is a longtime actor who you know from shows like Salvage Marines, and one of my favorite shows that I loved his reoccurring cameo in it, Con Man. Absolutely love that. And a little known, sci-fi flick you may have heard of. I don't know, Starship Troopers or something. I certainly hadn't heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, we are very excited to welcome Casper Van Dien to the FSF Podcast. Welcome to the show, Casper.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Very, very excited to have you on today. So excited, in fact, we had to bring a special co-host in because, well, he demanded it. So
a lot of begging and pleading for this one.
There wasn't so much begging and pleading as in, you will let me in the show. And I said yes.
Well, it worked, and I'm proud of him. That's the way you do it. You know, I used to tell my children, if you don't ask, it's no. So,
well, yes. There you go.
Wise words.
There you go. All right. So, as has become standard in our show, because we are self-proclaimed happy nerds, we love a good origin story. We like to find out what makes the person who they are, how they became who they are, and all those type of things. So in the story of Casper Van Dien, what were your influences as a young man that encouraged you to reach out for a career in the arts?
Interesting. I grew up in a military family. My dad was a teacher when I was growing up with him, but before that, he was in the Navy for 20 years in the first 5-6 years of my life. But then he taught NJROTC, and my mom was a preschool teacher and a nurse. And so I grew up in Ridgewood, New Jersey, after living in Japan, where he was handed a Navy base back to the Japanese. So I always thought I would go into the military because every other male in my family had served in. My grandfather, Marine in World War I, my other grandfather, medical corpsman. So, everybody all the men in my family had served in the military, except for one uncle and then myself. I went to an all-guy military school my junior and senior year, Admiral Farragut Academy, Navy. So I really thought I was going to go that route. But my parents had introduced me to, because they're educators, they brought me to off-Broadway and Broadway shows. I'd seen that. I'd go kicking and screaming, come back singing and dancing. And reading literature. I read a lot when I was a kid, and I watched a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows, and so I blame my parents solely for getting me into this. Because of them, I have a huge love for anything nerdy, pop culture-y, and just been a fan. And it was fun for me because when Starship Troopers came out, they came to me and they go, "Hey, you want to go to Comic-Con to promote this? It's a thing called Comic-Con, and nobody else wants to go, but it's this thing with all these fans that go to it." And I'm like, "I want to go, totally want to go." And they're like, "Well, you're the only actor that wants to go." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's awesome." And they're like, "Okay." But I went down there and it was just me and Paul Verhoeven and Ed Neumeyer. And then year 2, I did it for Tarzan. And year 3, I did it for Sleepy Hollow. But Tim Burton and Johnny Depp couldn't come. They were supposed to, but the last minute they ran over in the movie they were filming together, so they couldn't make it for that one. So it was just me and one of the producers for Sleepy Hollow, and it was amazing. So I've just for years I've been involved with it. It's just something I absolutely love. I mean, my wife's a cosplayer, and she does a lot of Wonder Woman. She's as old as Wonder Woman up there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes,
she was a reference model for Wonder Woman, and she's beautiful. I don't know how I got that lucky, but she Jennifer Wenger, she's hot, and so we have this Wonder Woman. I put hers up there and there, and we have weird things around. So I'm very nerdy, love the arts. So.
Perfect. All right, so let me ask you as a follow-up to that. You said that your parents took you to a lot of shows and things, and you went in kicking and screaming. You came back singing and dancing. Was there one in particular where you that was like the turning point, the tipping point where you went, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. That's because of a particular show.
Well, I loved West Side Story when I was a kid. I
Okay.
love that. But my dad introduced me to Tarzan films, so I was yes, Broadway. I saw all that, so I have the arts and interest in things. But he introduced me to Tarzan films, and I started watching different movies, and then I started watching different directors, and then I watched like the Magnificent Seven. And then I get into Kurosawa because then I go to the Seven Samurai. So I would get into all these different directors and things like
Nice.
that. So, I mean, I was a total nerd kid, just watching movies all the time, and I still do. I watch. My wife says you watch everything, and I do. I watch everything. I'm always watching something or reading up on it, and it's just something I love. I mean, it's my business, and it's also the love of my life. You know, my wife's the love of my life, and the arts are. I think that me being on a set, which I've been lucky to do for the last 36 years, you know, I feel like I'm a better person and man and human and father and friend and son and everything because I get to do what I love. So and then I get to talk about it, which is fun too. You know, there's not a real downside to acting for me.
So let me transition into my question here then, because that really fits. You're very passionate about what you do, which translates into how we see it, right? We see that passion. So now it's time for the portion of the show, the You Changed Sean Vest's Life portion of the show. So I saw Starship Troopers at a very young age, probably too young, you could say. And then I saw all the cartoons, and it was something that just stuck with me as a kid. Space Marines, heroism, and it's impacted my life. Like as a little kid, every single team that I've ever managed professionally or taken my son's elementary school class up into like the mountains for a camp, we've always been the Roughnecks. I served like a religious mission, and out where we taught, they'd be like, oh, there's missionaries, and what do you guys, you know, do you have like a team name? You know, they'd ask me like, we're the Roughnecks. So it's been in every single aspect of my life, and even down to the fact that every single car that I've ever owned is Rico. So I mean, it's just been something that has really been a core value, which is so weird because just young, impressionable mind, I was like, man, he was so brave fighting those bugs. That's so scary. Like it just stuck with me. So with that, at what point did you realize that Johnny Rico was a hero to people? I mean, you did the film. At what point were people starting to approach you? Because I know I'm not unique with that. And be like, I love the character. You're great. You changed my life. When did you realize that?
Well, I mean, I can give you. There's just so many times that I point to, but I'll give you one in particular here. And this happened to me probably 10 years ago, maybe 11. I was working on a movie set. And before that had happened. I mean, there's a movie I did where I was going through a divorce. The entire cast got death from above tattoos, but they had hit him. And at the end of the day, we did our cast picture, and 83 people had death from above pictures in this. And this is 12 years ago. I'm like, well, what? This is so wild. They all did it as a tribute to me to show you how much they love working with me. Everybody, the makeup,
awesome.
everybody had a death from above tattoo on. So that's great. But there's another time where I was doing a movie in New Mexico, and the transportation captain said to me, he said, would you take a picture with my son? He's a huge fan. I go, yeah, absolutely. And he goes, yeah, he's my co-captain, and he's also a former Marine. I said, oh, I love that. I love the Marines. And he goes, yeah, he got blown up by one of them roadside bombs and lost both his legs and part of his arm. And I said,
oh man.
At this point, I'm like crying. And then he goes, yeah, but what's amazing is after he got blown up, he's lying on the side of the road there, and this arm came in, this bare arm came in, and it had death from above. He saw the death from above and then passed out, and it pulled him out. Because that man became his best friend. And his best friend is doing another tour right now, and he wants to take a picture with Rico because they two bonded over. And he wants to send this. So me and the makeup artist are crying this time. She covered his tattoo. She made us death from above tattoos. We took a picture and we sent it to him, which is amazing to me. 2 years later, that's in New Mexico. 2 years later, I'm at Warner Brothers doing All American, working on that show, and I hand my ID into the security guard, and the security guard takes my ID and goes, "Hey, Rico." Now, my name on my ID does not say Rico. I'm just going to tell you this much, all right? I haven't changed my name or anything. It still says Casper Van Dien. But he goes, "Hey, Rico." And he goes, I say, "Hey, guys." He goes, "We heard what you did for that Marine, and we just wanted to thank you." Sorry. So when these
Sorry, there's
amazing
someone cutting onions over there.
yeah. So when an amazing men like this that have served our country and fought for our country and do amazing things for us can come and say that I touched them in a way that made them feel this way, they can have a reaction like that. I know that it's the power of this business and it's the power of what we do, and there's a certain responsibility we have to be respectful to the people, because there's more, there's the best thing in life is when we're human kindness, when we're kind to somebody else, when we do something. And for these people to come and tell me this stuff, it touched me, because I was just like, I'm just grateful that there are men that brave that are willing to do that afford me the ability to be an actor and pretend like I'm that brave to be able to do something like that. So I feel very fortunate. So when you say, when did I know? I mean, there's been many options, many times, many places, but there's been deeply impactful moments in my life where I've gone, oh, damn, this is much bigger than I could have ever thought for me.
That's powerful.
Well, and something I have to tell you too, that is so cool. And the thing that I love too, you were talking about how your family is military, and you didn't serve in the military, but in a weird twisted sense, you did, right, in this other world, and then you're able to inspire and help people in the forces. That is so cool, is that you were still able to influence those people.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to say, when Tim put up your picture and said, hey, we're having Casper on, I've seen all the people they've interviewed, and there's some really amazing people. And I saw yours and I was like, this is the one. I have to put my cards in. Like, Tim, I know that this is probably coming out of nowhere, but I have to be on the show, because I didn't just go buy this. You know what I mean? And my wife, and I'll get into this into another question, we were sat down after Tim agreed, and I couldn't believe it. And I was just sitting there, and she's like, Sean, would your little 10-year-old self ever have imagined that you would have an opportunity just to say hello to you, let alone, sit and chat? And I was like, Bryn, it's just unreal. And so I just want to express that, like, from just me, I'm sure you've heard so many stories, but your role in that was just so touching to me. And if you watch the movie, you'd be like, why? It's so violent. I don't know. It just hit something, and inspired, honestly, the rest of my life with just like Roughnecks lead the way. Like, I had a sales team, and we'd always chant that Roughnecks lead the way. And we would show clips from Starship Troopers, and they're like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, hey, look, you find the muse where you find it.
I appreciate everything. And my company's called Rico's Roughnecks Incorporated. So I am all on board. I'm not just somebody who acted it. I live it. I live it every day. I'll get people who go, Rico, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm holding toilet paper. I'm like, well, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Well, it's a daily thing, and I absolutely love it. I mean, I love it every time. There's not one time when somebody does a thing about Rico where I'm not like, oh, I can't believe this happened. I've heard stories like that. I've never really witnessed it, and it's never been my experience. My experience is it's the greatest thrill. And I say it's been magic, because people like you that come and say this to me touches my heart, makes me incredible. I've had kids that come up to me and go, I'm named after you. And I'm like, oh, your name's Casper. Like, no, it's Rico.
Rico.
I love it.
And I've gone, great. Hey, they go, I'm named after you. And I go, oh, you're Rico. And they go, no, I'm Casper. So I've had both. So it's been like,
oh, I love it.
I have had both, and I do have both. And a director I just worked with, his sister's marrying a woman, and they're having a child, and they wanted one of them had a thing for me when they were younger. I think it's changed now for them, but they're naming their child. They're having their name. Their son is going to be named Casper.
That's fantastic.
So and he goes, I didn't even know. He goes, I didn't even know this. My sister's wife wanted to name their kid Casper because of you. And I'm like, he goes, would you say something? So I just did the thing for them. This just happened, I don't know, 3 days ago.
That's fantastic.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's
great. He's the guy. He's the director of Salvage Marines. He's the one I'm doing Manhattan Transfer with. So he's like, my wife's the one that introduced me to him. He's a good friend of mine, and I've done a lot of projects with him. But it's just stuff like this happens, and it means everything to you. When people say stuff like this to you, the ones that say, "Oh, I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable." I think there's something either really wrong with them or they're lying. Because for me, I'd be the most authentic, inauthentic person if I was like, I don't like that.
You know, that's really heartening to hear, though, because it's like you have heard stories of people who have like idolized a certain character, and then they meet the actor and they're like, oh, they're a huge jerk. I really appreciate that you're as good as a person as the Rico that I grew up with and idolized. That's great.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, I was going to save this story for a little bit later, but seeing as it kind of ties into everything,
Story
so
time.
I served in the Army for 10 years.
Oh, thank
And one of the things that is a key memory for me is we were doing a month-long training session just in the middle of the desert in California. And we got slammed with this just like sandstorm. We got stuck in our tents for like 2 days. And I had my laptop with a hard drive full of movies and a projector, little projector. And everyone's like, oh, we got to watch some movie or something. Just take up the time. Like, oh, anyone ever hear Starship Trooper? And they're like, oh, yeah, I love Super Trooper. I'm like, no. Different movies. Apparently, no one had seen it. So I put it on and just projected it onto the wall of the tent. It was flapping in the wind. It was very like wobbly. It was very weird. But everyone for the rest of that training mission was just like, you know what to do. Just going absolutely nuts the whole time. One of my sergeants, for the rest of my time in the military, anytime I'm like, hey, how do I do this? He would just look at me and just, you know what to do.
They're great lines. They're great lines. I mean,
It's
Edmund
so
Meyer,
great.
he wrote RoboCop, and and Paul Verhoeven, who directed it. I mean, when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, how did I miss the sense of humor of the book? Because I read the book when I was a kid by Robert Heinlein. And then I went back, because in the script, the satire is just so, it's so, I think, over the top RoboCop. It's like RoboCop is satire, but then this one is like, ba-boom. And then they're like, no, this is subtle. You'll see. And I was wrong, because it went over the head of a lot of people when it first came out. They didn't understand the sense of humor, the satire at all. It went over there, which is beyond boggling to me. But I read the script and went back and reread the book, and there's no satire in the book. The book is straightforward, pro-military. I mean, it's a great book. I love it to this day. But the reason why I liked it when I was a kid was the power suits, because you could nuke things, blow them up, and you
right,
miles and flame torch things and kill these bugs and the skinnies and all this other stuff. So I liked it for a different reason. But because at first I was like, oh my God, how did I understand this when I was 12? But I didn't, because it wasn't there. So I just liked it for a different thing. So I'm so thrilled that you were in a tent. You got them all hooked on that, because that's just amazing. And that's another story I'll have now. It's like I've had these things where there's a guy that came to me who was in Malibu. I was working out there at a gym. He goes, you don't understand. I take a picture with you, because back in Afghanistan, we work out at a CrossFit gym called Rico's Roughnecks. And they had
that's so great.
And they had a mural of me painted up above their thing. And there was Rico, and I'm like, dude. So I took a picture with him, and I ended up working out the whole summer with him. Because these special forces, black ops. I was like, oh my God, I'm working out with this dude who's like, Rico's Roughnecks. You don't understand. And I'm like, I do. I really do understand. Even when you say I don't understand, but I really do. So I love it, and I thank you so much. And I think, and I do thank you for service. My brother's Army, he did 7 tours over in Afghanistan and Iraq. So and Bosnia, one in Bosnia as well.
Oh,
wow,
they've done way more than me then.
Well, but he got issues. I love him to death, but definitely issues. I mean, that's a lot of tours.
That's a lot of tours. That's a whole lot of tours.
Yeah.
Well, kind of circling back to the bug squishing aspect. There's a new game that just came out that everyone's very excited about. Helldivers 2. Yeah. And a lot of people have been making crossover memes and references between Starship Troopers and Helldivers. You seem to have expressed some interest in some crossovers.
I think it's very beautiful, and I love it. I've been involved with all of them. Anytime they promote it, I love that. I love the fandom of Starship Troopers. I can tell you I'm involved with the Starship Troopers Extermination game. Now they released this first, and it was only 3% done because to get the feelers for it. I don't know how technical the terms are. You guys might know the terminology of that better. But it is going to be completed, and it's going to be full on insane. So to be, like Helldivers 2 is very a tribute to Starship Troopers. Well, there's going to be a Starship Troopers, and it's Extermination. So and I am going to be involved with that.
Okay, you obviously by your tone you don't want too deep of questions, but there's probably some NDAs we can't go into.
I want to say so much more. I love all the fandom for Helldivers. I think that's awesome. I love that they love it, and it's been fun with the memes and everything like that. But wait till they get a load of what they're doing with this game. I'm so excited. I'm on pins and needles about it. Yeah, it's really hard for me. I'm probably saying more than I probably am allowed to say anyhow, but I don't give.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I won't push that.
But I do love the fanaticism of the fans for Starship Troopers, and that it's got a whole new fan base because of that Helldivers 2. I think that's really cool. And the director of that, I've been messaging with him, and he's so cool, and everybody's nice. So I like all that. But I also have been messaging with the Starship Troopers Extermination, and it looks like just Rico should be there. So that's what I think, and I know what to do.
It wouldn't be the same. I mean, it just wouldn't. Like if there wasn't some kind of interaction or cameo.
No, there has to be.
That would be a big missing piece for me. I mean, anything Space Marines and bugs, I'm down. But that would be a big
Me too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like there'd be a big piece missing.
Yeah, when I saw the first trailer for Helldivers 2, I was like, I didn't see the name of it yet. I'm like, oh my god, is this a Starship Troopers game? Is that what we're doing here? We're doing a Starship...
I thought the same thing.
Well, the director's a huge fan. He makes no questions about it whatsoever. He's a sweet man, and I can't wait. I'm going to try to play that game too, and I can't wait to play Starship Troopers Extermination. There's two things. I think it's phenomenal, and the fact that it's getting a whole new audience, because I think Starship is such a great movie, and I think that Paul Verhoeven, he says it's his best movie, but he's made so many great ones. But I think he's also said RoboCop was his best movie at one interview too. But I mean, other people showed me, he says it was this one. But he is such a smart man, and he's such a great filmmaker, and that they can make something that still has legs this many years later, 27 years later. It's phenomenal. And the visual effects in it are still hold up today for what they were made back then. I mean,
yeah, it's impressive. Really,
they took so much time with it, so I love it, and I love all the enthusiasm, and I love anything that gets more fandom and fan base for it, because I'm thrilled to be a part of that. I mean, I'm also doing. I did a thing about a new series I'm going to be doing with the director Sean Piccinino from Salvage Marines, called Manhattan Transfer. It's another sci-fi thing, and I got to work with Doug Jones and Walter Koenig and a whole bunch of other cool.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we're doing, and they're like getting funds up, and they're trying to get some fans involved with it too to finance it. So we'll see what happens there. Lots of exciting things, but nerds involved with it, which is the cool thing, because I think that, like Con Man, we had all the nerds involved with that too. All the con people were involved with Con Man. When you saw that one, it was so much fun to do. When Nathan Fillion and Alan Tudyk called me up, like, Casper, I got a perfect role for you. All you got to do is this. I go. That's the pitch. That's literally the pitch for me. And you're like, I'm the bartender, Captain Rex. I was the bartender. Okay, that's a shaker. All right.
I'm not asking questions.
Season 2, I was this.
Well, it's like, hey, look, I don't care what that motion is. I'll take the role. The kids gotta eat.
I love the. Okay, so Con Man, I absolutely loved that, and every time I love the fact that wherever they went. There is a bar, there you were. You kept popping up, and I was just like, that to me was hilarious. And my wife's like, why is that so funny? I'm like, it's Rico. He keeps popping up.
That's what they said to me. Alan, when he told me this, he's like, he goes, that's just what it is. And then he did that little spoof of Starship Troopers in it when that one day when I got to do that. That was fun. That was a good clip. I get to slap him and everything. Great. I loved it.
Yeah.
They're funny guys. And then when we were at Comic-Con, he got me to wear a dress. Only man to ever get me to wear a dress. On stage in Hall H.
Like you just came out in a dress?
I didn't come out. I wore I wore a dress.
Sure. right.
Phrasing, Sean.
Phrasing.
Phrasing's important.
Walked onto stage in a dress.
walked on the stage. Wow.
So-
not that I have any problem with it. I wouldn't. I don't care. I love everybody. But
Yeah, I know.
for that one, I was, it was just a thing that they're like, they just thought it was just fun. Alan Tudyk and Nathan and all them, the whole crew of them, they're just, awesome guys. So I loved
Yeah,
I loved
absolutely.
being part of Con Man.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a few people you've had a chance to work with over the years, and clearly, I mean, you look at the cast list of some of the shows that you've been on, like the ones we mentioned earlier, including Sleepy Hollow, Salvage Marines, Alita Battle Angel, all these different things. You've had some really cool roles and some really cool shows. But while working alongside those big names in Hollywood, you've also had a couple opportunities to work alongside your wife. Now, I know from working in a family business that working with family is not always easy, and there are moments when it can be difficult. But not in an attempt to get you in any trouble whatsoever with the wife, what are some of the moments that you enjoy most about sharing those experiences with your wife?
Oh, well, Jenny is the wife I have now is amazing and incredible, and the wives I had before were amazing and incredible in their way too. But working with her is the easiest thing that I've ever had in my life. It isn't difficult. When people go, "Hey, would your wife do this? Because you're both over here and doing this," and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And she comes in. She's amazing. She's professional. She gets it done. She doesn't complain. She doesn't care if they don't want makeup. They don't want this. She's the easiest person to work with, and she knows who I am, and I trust her. Also, whenever I do my auditions, she coaches me. She's awesome. So she graduated from Groundlings. She's super smart and funny. So it's pretty easy. So I trust her, and that's been a gift, a thing that I didn't have before.
Nice.
So it is nice. It is nice to have that in this moment in my life. So
Oh, that's great.
She's a smoke show, so it's like unbelievable. She looks like Wonder Woman. So it's like this.
Yeah,
this,
she does.
This is the day I met her. This is on my bedside table.
That's the day you met her?
That's the day I met her.
So
this is what she was wearing. And I was going through a divorce, and I met her, and I was like, and that's, you can only say things so eloquent so many times. So, like when I said it like that, I think I had her.
There you go.
She's like, "Oh, bless him. Maybe I'll take him out for sympathy reasons." And then she's like, "Oh, I guess he's okay."
I completely understand that feeling. My wife is also a Wonder Woman cosplayer, and she's sitting right over there, and also stunningly beautiful. So every time you mention yours and Wonder Woman, I just keep looking over.
It's so cute. It's the most adorable thing. I went to Warner Brothers with my wife because she was a reference model for Wonder Woman. So Jim Lee has drawn her as Wonder Woman on his comic book covers. She was the Bombshell. She was a reference for the Bombshell Wonder Woman.
She was the Bombshell?
She's the Bombshell. I got the glasses here to prove it at the house. She was also all the other Bombshell characters. She dressed up in all these costumes. Fucking amazing. I'm just gonna tell you so much.
I'm only saying that because that's my wife's favorite cosplay of Wonder Woman is the Bombshell Wonder Woman.
Okay, so that's my wife. I've had 3 women come up to me over my career and go at cons and go, "I got your." At the time, 2 of them were girlfriend and now wife, but they go, "I got your wife tattooed on my body." And I go, "Okay, I'll bite." Now, usually that might not be a good thing because sometimes you don't want to see where it is or what it's going to be. But somebody took it off, and she had a on her calf. She had my wife as the Bombshell thing, but they knew that it's my wife, and so they came up and did this. So it's just like, I mean, it's surreal to have that kind of thing. So I'm married to a Wonder Woman, and I'm glad you're married to one too, Ben. It's the greatest thing in the whole world. I love it. It's she can tie me up with that lasso of truth anytime she wants. I'll just tell her. I will tell it to you so hard.
Oh, hang on.
Oh my God, she could do it all up she wants. There you go. Wonder Woman.
That is amazing.
All right, Tim, we might have to scratch out that no dirty part of our tagline.
There's no up to get the truth.
No, he's talking about his wife. That's all
Yeah.
fair game.
Exactly. Truth is
That's what Wonder
important.
Woman does. That's what she does.
That is very, very important in a relationship, is being honest.
Yep.
So
That was very honest.
I have to tell you about this. So with all the Helldivers stuff coming out, you know, my wife would be scrolling through Instagram and there's Starship Trooper memes and stuff. And I'd be like, oh, that scene's really cool because, or there's the Klendathu drop and there's a scene where one of the drop ships is coming down and the camera follows it the whole way down and then it lands and they come out. And I was like, that is one of the best scenes. And she's like, I haven't seen it. And I was like, wait a moment. We've been married how long and you haven't seen this? So we go downstairs and we turn it on. And she's like, are we really going to watch this? You know, I'm like, yes. I was like, Brayden, you know, all my cars are named Rico, all the rough, you know, and I explained. She's like, yeah, I know that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I said, you've got to watch this. I feel like I've failed you. So she's sitting there watching it and I'm trying not to just be like staring at her, you know what I mean? While she's watching it. And she's laughing out loud with the guy that's like, frankly, the idea of a bug that thinks I find offensive. And she's loving it. And at one point, Carl comes out and he's kind of gaunt and she goes, oh my gosh, are they the bad guys? And so she's like getting it, you know?
That's awesome.
And I loved watching that with her. So I guess turning that into a question, what has been your experience with people that have seen it very recently and becoming new friends?
Sorry, my wife.
New friends.
My wife just brought me chocolate. So
Oh.
she's just like, so I tell you, I scored.
Do you know what? She's in the other room and she hears it and she's like, time to prove it.
Brought me chocolate. I'm the right.
We all just kept saying Wonder Woman and she was summoned.
Yes. The Wonder Woman. She's like, somehow she went out and got me chocolate.
She's like, I just needed to hit the point home that this is real.
So wait, I'm sorry. So what was your question at the end?
No, you're good. So she had a wonderful experience watching it because the movie holds up. It's incredibly entertaining. It's a good story.
See me naked.
We'll get to that question. I have that. So what has been your experience with people that see it for the first time, like now?
I always say 20 minutes. You can do it. You and your wife. I'll say that to you. 20 minutes. You guys can do it. That's in the movie. I'm just quoting the movie. All right.
Oh, for a second. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I'm like, okay, I'm on board.
In the tent, Michael Ironside goes, okay, 20 minutes. 20 minutes? We can do it. My experience right now is when people come and they watch it, it's, you know, I make those jokes often about the 20 minutes and stuff like that. I do that often. I'm terrible. Do it at every con. And I also say, you see me naked to people whenever they watch the movie together as a couple. I go, this is so awkward in front of your husband or in front of your wife. I say it all the time. And it's usually a good icebreaker. I don't know if it, you know, if I've totally offended everybody, but I don't care. It's just who I am. And I love the response of people. I love people that get this movie, that see the sense of humor, because it is satire, it is humor. And unfortunately, it's still applicable to today's political climate and times and things. And from both sides, you can make a mockery of both sides, which I do, by the way. I don't really care about either side. It's not my jam. I'm not a political person, but I do like the hypocrisy of both. And I do love the Starship Troopers points to that in a way where both of them can claim that it's theirs or whatever, and they can see these in different people. Also, people, the intelligence audience, the audience that it has, the people that have watched it and that really get it, they, I mean, they have an understanding that unfortunately the audience didn't have. A lot of them in America when it first came out, they're like, I don't get it. It went over the head of a lot of people when it first came out, which is weird because I look back and I go, how? I mean,
it's super obvious, like when you watch it.
That's what I thought when I read the script. I go, this is so obvious. And they're like, no, Casper, this is subtle. And then when it went over that people's heads, I bowed my head. I went, okay, Paul and Ed, you're right. It was subtle. I don't understand how it's subtle. And they're like, you don't understand the way everybody's thinking. And I went, but they both have genius IQs.
Yeah, right.
They're both literal genius IQs. I mean, they're both like, Mensa, all this other stuff. But it's just so interesting to see how they really are. They're also they study human sociology in a way that is just like, like we study an ape or something like that, where we go and study animals. They study the socioeconomical, situations and disparities within, countries and it's and political parties, and it's just so surreal, and it just that's why I think it stings in a way, and people can get it, and I think audiences today, like when you say that the people that are watching these video games and they're seeing it now and it's come to a new audience, I think today's audience is much more sophisticated than we used to be back in the day. Some people did get it and it affected them. And then other people, I've had other people come, I loved the movie when it came out, and now I've rewatched it and I went, oh my God, there's a sense of satire that I didn't understand as a kid. And I go, that's awesome that they loved it as a kid, because that's the same thing that happened with me with the book. I loved the book, but I didn't understand, and then I was like, wait a minute, so it's like, I love that it has life and legs, and it keeps moving and it keeps going, and this movie is still being spoken about after we made it 28 years ago and came out 27 years ago. So
holy, it's been that long. So that's crazy.
1997, November 7th, 1997.
Please no, I'm already feeling old.
So I mean, like, I'm one of those ones that I'm like, Space Marines, bugs, boom, and then I watch it as I age and mature, and I start understanding other aspects of it.
But how do you do that? How do you do the aging and maturing? Because I'm trying to work on both of those.
Well, okay, so here's that. Let's talk about how you've aged, sir. I literally just watched that show, and then I Googled you, like, what's he up to now? When I see that he's on the podcast, you look great.
Oh, thanks.
Like,
man.
we're talking what, 20 plus years? Like, first off, how dare you? No, but seriously, well done. Whatever's going on, you actually look great.
Thank you. I don't drink. I'm almost 30 years sober. But I did drink, but that's before Starship. I was sober during Starship, and I'm a vegan, and I'm pretty careful what I put in, except for occasionally chocolate into my body, and I drink mostly water, and I work out, and I read and I write, and I try to sleep. I'm not very good at sleeping, and I hear that that's important to make you look youthful. You're supposed to sleep a lot, but I'm not very good at sleeping. My brain is always like,
it's interesting. I just want to make, so I have family that will be watching this, and they all love you. When I told them that I was going to be talking with you, they're like, we have goosebumps because we're so jealous. And some of them are really struggling with alcoholism, and 6 months sober, and some are 3 years sober.
Congratulations, the same as.
Yeah, and so and I don't drink either. Seeing them struggle, it's actually nice to hear you say that, because you said 30 years.
Yeah, July 11th will be my 30 years, God willing.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's just good
amazing
to hear. And so I know when they watch this, that'll give them hope, that everyone can struggle, everyone can succeed.
Yeah,
so that's really cool. So I do have a question for you. You talked about the shower scene. Okay. I
was talking about the tent scene. Now you brought up the shower scene.
Hey, look, we could talk about all of them. So I heard a rumor, and I have to, and I apologize if you've answered this elsewhere.
Oh, I have.
I've heard you have. I've heard that in order for you guys to do it, that there was an agreement that Paul also had to be naked behind camera. Is that true?
No. Here's the truth.
Okay.
We're all young-ish, 27. Everybody else was younger than me at the time, and now they're all the same age as me. I don't know how that happened, but at the time they were 2 or 3 years younger than me when we made the movie. And then we're filming the shower scene, and we're all toweled up, and we're gonna get ready to get naked and be naked in the scene. And Paul walks in and goes, "Are you guys ready to do this?" And Dina goes, "What are you guys chicken? All you Americans so chicken about being naked?" And Dina goes, "Oh, if it's so easy, Paul, why don't you do it?" And he pulled his pants down. Goes, "See?" Facano, the German DP, pulled this down, and I'm like, and everybody we're like, God, no. And I'm like, Dina, and then he goes, "You guys ready to shoot now?" We're like, "Yeah." He pulled his pants up back, and we went and shot. And I go, "Dina, why did you do that?" And she goes, "I didn't know he would pull his pants down." But now I can never undo that image. But then people are now gotten to the point where he filmed it all naked, and he was over there just, like, and it wasn't that. It wasn't anything like that. He was just effing with all us. You couldn't get away with that today, but
yeah,
can't do that today. It'd have been me 3 years like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can't just expose yourself to all your coworkers.
No, you can't. Well, we all were,
Tim.
but he did it as a like. It's like no big deal for him. And in his defense, in Europe, they don't really give a shit about the nudity. Excuse me, they don't really give a hoot nanny about the nudity like we do here. We're more puritanical than they are, and that was another thing that he was trying to stress, that it is no big thing. That's why the shower scene is like not a perverse, like sexual thriller. It's just us taking a shower and nobody cares.
Fascinating.
Right. Just talk. Everybody's just talking with another, not like it's a big deal. They're just bathing.
Yeah, and that's what it was supposed to be. And he was trying to prove that to us because we were all the Americans that were more uptight about it. It's like, it's not. I've never been naked in front of so many women and men at the same time in my life ever. and I can thank Paul for that.
Wonderful. There you go. You got that going for you.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned your love of cosplay and cons and all these things. You have a very interesting role that you did at one point for a musical. How did you find yourself doing the Deadpool musical? And how does it feel to be one of the best on-screen portrayals of Cyclops?
All right, so I'll give you. There's more to this story than I can say. My wife got to do Deadpool, the first one, and I walked on the set and they're like, "Oh, it would have been so funny to have Rico show up for Deadpool. I have a scene with him." I go, "Oh, I'd totally do it." And like we couldn't get to it because they were so busy. So they came season 2. They're like, "Would you play Cyclops?" And I go, "Yes." And my wife plays Rogue in it, and so she's awesome and I love it. But I got to do Cyclops. I originally auditioned for. They wanted me to audition for Cyclops, and I walked on to the set for the original one that James Marsden got. I was supposed to audition for that role, and they had me all set. But when I walked in, I go, "Yeah, but I want to go for. And they looked at me like, "Oh." So I blew an opportunity to audition for Cyclops, and then I got to play it in the Deadpool musical.
Wait, sorry, it cut out for me. You went in to audition for.
They wanted me to audition for Cyclops for the original movie,
right?
When it first come out, and I went into there and I said, I don't want to audition. I walked into the audition, them thinking I was going to audition, for Cyclops, and said, I'm going to audition for Wolverine, and them going, oh. So I could see right there, as soon as I did it, their whole faces dropped and changed. They're like,
oh, yeah.
It's like you already lose the audition, but you're young and you're like, oh, I want to play it. I want to be as cool as Hugh Jackman, who wasn't even Wolverine yet. But I still wanted to be as cool as him, who does musicals for real. And
right.
Yeah, but I loved playing Cyclops in Deadpool musical too. That was a lot of fun, and I think James Marsden did a much better job than I could have ever done. But and I'm so grateful for him. But I did love the opportunity, and it was a lot of fun to finally play such a cool cat. So thank you.
It's one of the few musicals I've actually enjoyed in my life, so I did watch it.
Oh, it was fun.
I had to throw that question in there because Tim hates musicals. So
I love musicals.
I mostly despise them. I have a really hard time with people just singing at each other for no apparent reason whatsoever.
Well, I was doing a movie in India, and in the movie I was doing it for Russell McKay, who directed Highlander and and I was doing this. It's called Curse of King Tut's Tomb, but we were shooting it in India, and I was at the Rambagh Palace in Rajasthan, and this guy said to me, he goes, "Why?" An Indian guy came up to me and said, "Why, Shmi, you're an actor, an American actor." And I go, "Yes." He goes, "Why in American films do you not sing and dance?" And I go, "Well, we do in some. We have musicals where we sing and dance." He goes, "No, but in your regular movies, why don't you sing and dance?" I go, "Oh, well, because like when you cross the road in real life, you don't sing and dance." And he goes, "But why not?" And I go, "You're 100% correct. I stand corrected. We should be singing in every movie that we do. You're 100% correct." He's like, he couldn't fathom it. And then I actually couldn't convince him that, how we are in real life. He's like, "But why not? But why not?" And every time, and I was like, "You know what? You're right. Why don't we? We should." So I disagree with you, Tim. We should sing in everything.
So what you're saying is we need Starship Troopers, the musical, with
Well,
Mike
yes.
Ironside. You get 20 minutes. 20 minutes. We'll do.
20 minutes. We can do it. We can do it. Yes, Tim City. There you go. Now you're warming up. Now you see you're making the mark here. You could be writing these musicals. Look at this, Tim.
He's got it.
You gotta embrace that artistic sense that you have, that sense and sensibility that you have. You shouldn't reject it anymore. No more rejection. No more naysaying here. Starship Troopers the musical. What? We've been missing this.
We have. It's something we didn't know that we wanted.
Yeah.
now it is.
I wanted it.
Something we need.
And Tim is like, "Oh shit! What did I just do?"
It's
You did good, Tim. You did good.
Imagining the song that accompanies just killing the bugs. It's
all.
very Doom Eternal, just rip and tear kind of a musical.
It would be
I just
beautiful.
imagine him like, Rico running up over the hill and there's a tree there and he kind of swings around the tree, shooting his gun. You know what to do.
Carl coming in. It'd be like springtime in the what is it? The producers.
Oh,
the only way the musical would work is if the ferret was like a puppet,
Yes.
Yeah, you got to have the little puppet ferret. So, okay, you were talking about X-Men, and I went down a little journey in my mind. Forgive me. I'll guide you with me here. So Ray Park is in X-Men. You also worked with him in Sleepy Hollow. Obviously, he's a crazy talented fighter, right, with the choreography and stuff.
Yeah.
As Brahm in Sleepy Hollow, which you're fantastic in, by the way. That movie's so great. When did you learn that you had to fight with him, and did that make you nervous?
No, not at all. I got to meet him when I got to find out that I was fighting him. He was a young kid then. He had done Darth Maul, but he hadn't come out yet. And he showed me the video. He's like, "Oh my God, Casper, I just wanted to show you this." And he was showing me him and the stunt coordinator, because we had the same stunt coordinator as Darth Maul, in that. So they showed me them fighting out of makeup and then in a makeup test and everything. And he goes, "What do you think, Casper?" And I go, "I think I should get your autograph right now."
Yeah.
Smart move.
That's what I said to him. And we've been friends ever since. We've done 3 projects together, and I love him to death. And he's a great guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Incredible fighter. Incredible. But he was a kid when I met him. Now he's a man, kids, and his whole life.
Man.
But
that's very cool.
But he was a kid when I met him. He was just a young guy.
Oh, see, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize the timing on that. And so that's fascinating.
Yeah. So I saw the fight scene of him slicing them in half before it came out.
Wow. Okay.
And I was like,
that's crazy.
"Oh my God, this is epic. This is epic." I go, "Is our fight going to look like this?" And they're like, "No, it's a little different." I'm like, "Oh my God."
but you did get cut in half. And so
maybe half the man I am today.
Right. Man. Yes.
Everybody else lost their head in the movie, not me.
That is actually weird that everyone else got their heads cut off except for you.
Yeah, well, because
you got Darth Maul just straight across the waist.
Yeah, I wasn't one of his targets, and so he didn't want to fight me, and that's the point that they were trying to prove. So that the Headless Horseman was like, I was just like a gnat, and I wouldn't leave him alone. And since I kept pursuing him and was like, "No, I got him," I did lose my head because I kept fighting him and I didn't have to. And Johnny's like, "He doesn't want you," and so if I had listened to Johnny Depp, I'd still be here today.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Wait a minute, I am.
Well, maybe not your character, because that was in the 1600s. They probably would have.
Yeah, in the 1600s, they would have beheaded me or something, or hung me, or whatever it is that they do.
Yeah. Oh, never mind.
You can't say that, Captain Rex. You can't say that.
I'm good. I'll just show off my Rico's Roughnecks shirt again. We'll
Outstanding, Trooper. You know what to do.
Thank you.
So, Casper, we love to get our followers involved whenever we can. We've got a Facebook group of over 214,000 members. We've got, we've got our Twitter followers, our threads, all that stuff. We did get a question I wanted to use from one of our Twitter followers, and he had a question for you. His name is David Birch, 1982, from Twitter. I know it goes by X now. I still call it Twitter. Anyway, he's a huge Alita Battle Angel fan. And so his question is, what aspect of Alita drew you to audition for Alita? whether it's something specific to her story or just staying part of the sci-fi world?
So interesting story. Thank you for asking. I love anime, I love all that stuff, but that's not what brought me to this one. My buddy Garrett Warren, who's the stunt coordinator and second unit director on Avatar, Lincoln the Master, Logan, all these things. He was a stunt guy on Starship Troopers. Actually, it was Jake Busey's stunt double. But he's the godfather of my kid, and he's been in my life for forever. He sent me a thing. I'm on this thing doing a Doolittle's Heroes, playing Jimmy Doolittle, great war hero, years ago, and he goes, Casper, put yourself on tape. Do this, and do this. Put it on for Robert Rodriguez. I go, Garrett, I can't. He goes, just do it. So I put myself on tape, do this thing, whatever he tells me to do this whole scene and everything like that, send it to him. And he goes, okay. And he calls me up, goes, okay, you got it. You're coming in to do this. I'm like, so I had to get the movie to let me off for 2-3 days. I go down, film, put all this stuff on, go down there, film. All Robert Rodriguez said was, when he saw it, was, wait, is that Casper Van Dien? Why is he auditioning for this? He goes, okay, we'll make it a part, not a stunt part, because it's a stunt because I break the glass and I kill a little girl in it, because he goes, this is so awesome. It's like, this is what Rico would have become if he became a drug addict and was in the future. And I'm in a scene with Christoph Waltz, and he all he wants to do is talk about Starship Troopers, and he goes, you don't understand. I have you know how you have music playlists? I go, yeah. He goes, I have movie playlists, and I have 150 to 200 movies that I play in the background, and I turn the volume down really low, and I have them in the background while I'm writing or editing, and I just have a rolling thunder that plays. But then when 3 movies come on, I turn off the rolling thunder and I blast the sound. And one of those movies is Starship Troopers. And
it's the Klindathu drop for sure. I've heard that a million times.
And he goes like this. He goes, you don't know how many times I watched that? A month. And I go, that's awesome. His photographer's name is Rico. He's like, and then I go to take my pictures for it, and he goes, hey, Casper, you don't know how many times I go, a month? He goes, yeah. And I go, yeah, I know. He's so cool. Robert Rodriguez is the coolest guy. We almost did the Starship Troopers series together. He was going to direct it, but then he got on big Boba Fett, and he got on his other things. So
call him.
Oh, I love Robert. He's the sweetest.
Make it a thing.
Robert, it's time.
Such a talented guy. I wish he could do it. I wish we would do it. It was going to be Old Man Rico, so they would have had to age me a little.
Well,
a little,
seeing as you're so well preserved and just.
No, it should be me now.
So is that you're saying Old Man Rico is what it would have been? I was going to ask, because you're this character, and I'm sure you have head canon, and you've got Traitor of Mars and Starship Troopers 3 and that kind of stuff, where the canon kind of does whatever. If you had your dream role as Johnny Rico, to redo the role, what would that look like to you?
I would love to do Old Man Rico. I'd love to come back and what we were going to do, and that is, have Roughnecks come back and lead the Roughnecks. I think it would be fun to do. I think that I think it would be an interesting series. I think it would be really fun to do, and I think that the satire is the thing that would be the most fun for me. I mean, of course, all the action is great and the bugs and the different things, but there's different worlds to go on that, and then having to bring in young people into it it'd be interesting to have that. To be more like a Michael Ironside type character, who to this day is a friend of mine, who I still hear his voice sometimes when I'm acting in it. He played Ratchek in it, Ratchek Schwarzenegger. So, he, was very inspirational for me on Starship Troopers, and I think to be that character for others would be awesome. So, and I think Rico has earned that spot and in that right to be there in this, and I think it would be fun to play off of that into a future of the Starship Troopers universe.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Especially if Rico's been in the military that long. They've probably gone up a couple ranks since then.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the animated, he went all the way up to general. I think he's also, he's been around. I mean, I'm 55, so I think I could be that, right?
You could pull it off, yeah.
Maybe a little. With how fast you move up in rank in the Starship Troopers world, because people get murdered.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure
all the ranks above you are just gone.
Yeah, everybody just seems to get mutilated so quick in that. It was so funny when Starship Troopers first came out. There was somebody that once said, this is a pro-fascist, pro-war movie. I go, obviously you haven't watched it. And they go, what do you mean? I go, you obviously haven't watched the movie. He goes, no, it is. It's a pro-war movie. I go,
No.
everybody dies. I go, everybody dies. I mean, there's very few people that live in it. So if you're saying that this is a pro-war film, you didn't watch it.
Do you know what they did? They did, but the propaganda worked.
The propaganda didn't
They're
work.
sitting there and they're like,
no.
yeah, I'm going to do my part. No, it totally worked.
I'm
They're
doing
sitting
my
there-
part.
Yeah, and they're like,
Oh, they're going to kill people and bugs.
You've got the
Really
mom
need to get
sitting
some
there.
need to get some media literacy in schools.
I don't. I
Oh,
really,
God.
you know, it's surprising sometimes. It's surprising when I would have that argument with people. But it's an interesting thing because it doesn't matter which side it is on. Again, left and right, people have missed the point on both sides. It is an audience that gets it. It's a certain audience that gets this, that understands it and understands the satire and the brilliance of it. Some people thought, oh, this is insulting the military. I go, absolutely not. I grew up in a military family. They're the ones that are going to get this the most, and they're the ones that are going to appreciate the most. And 100% is the truth. They they love it. And if you can poke fun, there's nobody that can poke fun at themselves better than anybody that served in the military. Those people are the people that have the best sense of humor. They're real and authentic because they've seen some stuff that other people will never see. And that's just my opinion. That's what I grew up seeing and experiencing, and in just my relationship and my interactions with them throughout my career.
I would agree with you. I think of a lot of guys in the military. I think of them as like the farmers insurance. They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two. You know,
yeah, they definitely. I mean, it's like I look at my grandfather, who was one of the 3 survivors of his battalion, World War I, Marine Corps, and then I just look at all these men and what they went through. My dad, who he didn't think he was in combat, even though his plane got riddled with bullets, going in and out of Da Nang, and my other grandfather, medical corpsman, they called him Bones because he was always putting people back together on the fronts. So these are the things that that's the real stuff. And like that guy that we were talking about earlier who got blown up. All these men, these people, they know stuff that I will never know. Their stories affect me deeply, and I'll tell you this much: I'm always brought to tears when they talk and they do this. I got to speak in front of my military school the other day. I got to be the guest speaker, and all these men that had served in the military got up before me, and I was the speaker, the guest speaker, but all these great men spoke before me, and men that have done served in the military, done so much more than I could ever do, and I'm the guest speaker. I got up and afterwards I was in awe, and I got to tell them that I was in. I just wanted to tell them that, I told them all the story, what I said. I said, it's kind of hard to follow all of you guys and being an actor and doing this. But I told them the story about the Marine, and that story that we just said. And I said, so I wanted to say this to you guys. I want to thank you for giving me for men like you and men like him. They gave me the taste of what it is to feel like what a real man is and what you guys do for us. So I just wanted to thank you for that honor, for that. That opportunity that you've afforded me by doing what you do, and I'm really grateful and appreciate it, and that's the most I can do for it. So, and it's the most I can do is to show my appreciation for it. It is a deep regret I have that I didn't serve, but I do take pride in that I've always only done things that support our military and support men and women that serve. I would never do anything to disrespect them in any way, shape, or form because, I grew up in that, and I know what it's. I know.
No, you have an appreciation, obviously, for what they've done, what they do.
Utmost respect.
Yeah, very clear.
I have to tell you, my brother's in the military. He and I were firefighters together, and then he went off. It was a good time. It was wildland firefighting. I don't miss it. It was a hard job, but he's a captain. There was times I thought my face was going to melt off, but he's a captain in the military, and he's actually the one that bought me this for my birthday. He and I are very, very close when it comes to our appreciation of Roughnecks. He made me watch all the cartoons as a kid and all that stuff. So I know that he'd really appreciate me just giving him a shout out with you here. But
we thank him for my service.
Oh, he'll watch it. He'll see it.
I didn't serve.
They both apply. But we're gonna wrap up with one question, very important, because you get to a certain point in your life where people stop asking you this very critical question.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh my gosh.
Velociraptor.
That was quick. All right.
Beautiful. A classic. I love it. All right. Well,
When I was a kid, I even loved the Jim Carrey imitation of it when he was like,
that's the best version. Well, Casper, thank you so much for being on our show today. Where can our listeners go and find more about you and more about your work? And if you have anything that you want to promote, anything you're doing, please tell us now.
Well, you can find me at Casper Van Dien on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or IMDB. I'm on all those things. And as far as things that I've got going, I've got Manhattan Transfer coming out that I'm supposed to be working on. I've got a couple other things coming out, but I have a couple other movies that are out right now that are on demand, like Mad Heidi, which I play an insane dictator / president of Switzerland, but there's a lot of Starship Troopers references in it. It's the cheesiest movie I've ever done. We fight against lactose intolerance. We kill people with provolone through the head, and we hot cheese fondue people fondue board.
That's
so
fantastic.
It's literally the cheesiest movie. And that was fun. And then I've got a couple other ones that are out. I just got some wild stuff out right now, so I'm having fun, and I'm just grateful that you guys wanted to say hey. So I appreciate it. And
Awesome.
And get ready for Starship Troopers Extermination.
I'm ready.
I'm there already,
so.
Sir. That is,
Look.
I am pumped.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. And we'll put all those things in the show notes and in the description below so our listeners can check them out.
Absolutely. And guys, we want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to help our show to continue to grow and convince amazing guests like Casper Van Dien to come on our show and have these great conversations with us and give you guys moments that you can laugh along with. So please click the like and subscribe button down below. It doesn't hurt. It only helps. And be sure that you go check out Casper's work as well, and look forward to Starship Troopers Extermination. I know we are, and that's going to be a thing. Sorry, honey, you're going to lose me for a very long time behind a computer or Xbox, so it's going to happen. So on that note,
PlayStation.
PlayStation?
Oh.
Don't make me go buy a PlayStation. Come on.
I would.
You got to do PlayStation
the console
Helldivers
war.
or Starship Troopers Extermination. You got to do it for either one.
Tim, you know what to do.
I know
You know what to do. Welcome to the Roughnecks. Come on, you
Sorry,
ain't going to live forever.
Oh,
Sorry, honey. Apparently it's a thing. Rico said I had to. All right. And on that note, goodbye.
Bye.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.